Cover to Cover, we're going to be talking about history, Seattle's history, discovering your own family history, and a historic branch library. Hi, I'm Sharon Griggins, and on this program we'll be featuring a tour of the Seattle Collection, which offers everything from early explorers' journals to a biography of Jimi Hendrix. Then we'll be talking with people who are tracing their own family history with the help of folks here in the genealogy department. We'll be learning about a gift that's putting smiles on a lot of faces and kids throughout Seattle, and we'll pay a visit to Douglas Truth Library. So stay tuned to learn more about your library on Cover to Cover. Local history occupies a special corner of the downtown library, the Seattle Room. There you can browse the thousands of items that make up the Seattle Collection.
What you could say that the Seattle Collection is for is to make the materials of Seattle's history available to the people that own it, which is the population of Seattle. And so it's an attempt by the library both to collect things from the past and from the present and make them available to all of us.
The Seattle Collection began in the 1920s and has since grown to include over 30,000 volumes about Seattle's people, its environment, and industries. Going through parts of the collection is like taking a trip through your grandmother's attic, if your grandmother saved everything. We started with the journals of early explorers.
People are allowed here to be able to come in and see an explorer's journal from, in this case, this is the Mears voyages made in the years 1788 and 1789 from China to the northwest coast of America. One of the things you can see just from these pages how old they are, but one of the fabulous things about these old journals and explorers' records are these prints that they had. And this one is the entrance of the Straits of Juan de Fuca. What would it have been like to say, I mean, first of all, how would you have known what this was, that this was an entry into an inland sea?
You can see how early guidebooks of Seattle were written to lure settlers west with promises of big trees, clean air, and water, especially in the 1890s when the city played a key role in the Klondike Gold Rush.
This would have been a pamphlet that was distributed to tell people about going to the Klondike. And this one looks like it was actually published in Seattle because what they're talking about is if you're going to go to the Klondike, come here to Seattle as your point of departure because we can outfit you. And so it's giving you a list right here of what are all the supplies for one man for 1 year.
And then what the best dressed Klondike person would wear.
Yeah.
Here we've got heavy underwear, wool socks, wool mitts, and clothing, suit oil clothing, which has been oilcloth.
Snag-proof rubber boots. I wonder what those were.
Wow. Another important part of the collection includes cookbooks and other materials that show how ordinary people lived.
This was a guide that a new bride would have been given as a gift or maybe would have bought herself. And it really, again, gives us a picture into the past. What would you have needed to know as a woman in those days? And this one, let's see what's the date on this, to embarking on your new life as a married woman. I think sometimes we think life in the past was not at all like our own life, that they were just completely different. And when you look through something like this, you realize that in some ways things were very different. And in other ways things were similar, some of the same concerns.
How to make a good hollandaise sauce.
How to make a good hollandaise sauce. How to save a person on fire.
Along with the many published materials, there are also scrapbooks and clippings, which give you another view of history.
Some of our most unique materials are these scrapbooks or ephemera. And those would be scrapbooks that somebody put together that just had a passion. We've got a collection of scrapbooks about the Seattle schools that was put together by Mr. Costello that was a topic of interest to him. And they have pictures of the old classrooms of all the students in the classrooms from 1901. You can see the teacher, you can see the knickers that they're wearing, their button shoes. So that is something that's never been published. We've got the only copy. Other scrapbooks, there's scrapbooks of newspaper clippings, a scrapbook of newspaper clippings about the Japanese internment during World War II. In something like that, you can get a sense of what this meant at that time, what were the community feelings, what's represented in those newspaper articles. Other scrapbooks may be of have materials like the invitation to the Nordstrom dinner, showing off spring fashions. What would you have in 1956 have eaten at a dinner at the Olympic Hotel? It's the individual items that make up what life was like at another time.
Then there are maps, real estate maps, fire insurance maps, and even tourist maps that chronicle the growth of Seattle.
When I open up an old map from another time period, 1950 road map for Seattle, I really have a sense of what it means to drive down that street. Where would the gas station be? The freeway wasn't there. How would I have gotten up to Green Lake? It's a picture back into another time period. And I can imagine myself, and I see that other people, it helps them to imagine themselves in another time, in another place.
The Seattle collection is as varied and interesting as our city itself. And its most important aspect is the sense of history it passes to its users. On by, genealogy was something reserved for nobility, but now it's one of the fastest growing hobbies in America. Everyone is searching for their roots. Why? We asked genealogy librarian Darlene Hamilton.
Individuals are trying to find out about their background for a variety of reasons. It may be just curiosity about a story that has been passed on down through the family. They may be wanting to use it for school purposes. There are a number of middle schools here on the West Coast that have cultural heritage fair projects, and one of the options that the children have is to select a family history project, or at least use that as a starting point, and then they may go on to talk about the culture that relates to their family background or the immigration experience, that kind of thing. Today we're finding individuals from all ages, all walks of life who are getting involved in family history. The middle school students that I mentioned earlier working on their school projects. We have career people who are working in the downtown Seattle area that will drop in during lunch hour, after work, to work for a short period of time on their family history. And then individuals who are retired, who have a lot of time to spend a whole day here at the library working on their family history.
Genealogy is the study of your family tree, gathering your ancestors' names, birth dates, death dates, and the places they lived. So how do you get started?
When someone comes up to the humanities desk in the downtown library and wants to get started with their family history, we'll give them an ancestor chart, which basically is an outline that they can use to record the names, dates, and places. They want to start out with what is known to them and other members of their family. They would want to look for documents that might be in the family's possession that would also supply information, and organize that information on the chart. Then we can make some suggestions about where they might start actually doing some research. This might involve going to a census record, or looking for a published family history, or supplying them with addresses of where they might write for additional information.
From there, your research will take you through the library's large genealogy collection, which includes materials from all parts of the country.
This collection actually covers materials from all parts of the United States, because the interest of the local genealogist is mostly from other parts. Most of us have come from someplace else in the United States, migrating to the West Coast. The types of materials will be family histories, which is a very popular section where individuals have actually worked on their genealogies and have published the materials. County histories is another big segment. The largest part of the microfilm collection would consist of census materials. Census records are used to basically give you an overview of what the kitchen chandelier. Now, if you have a fixture that has those really teeny bases, they're called candelabra bases. There are compact fluorescent lights that are made with a candelabra base. Isn't that great?
Actually special.
That's right, that's right. This one's 5 watts, isn't it cute? It gives about the same amount of light as a 20-watt incandescent. And if you want a similar bulb with a globe, you can also have that model. Isn't that amazing? Compact fluorescent. This is 6 watts, gives about the same light as a 20. Now, if you have a situation where you want to install a fixture, you can buy something like this in a porch light or a basement, perhaps. You unscrew this glass bulb, and there's the compact fluorescent. And this is called a stab-in base.
It just pulls out the light part, and the ballast is in here, and you can just replace usually 5 to 10 replacements before the ballast burns out. So this is an excellent option if you want to put in a fixture that just is made for compact fluorescent lights. Another option for people that like really blue, or what they call daylight, here's a bulb that has, it's rated at 6,000 degrees Kelvin. Now most of these lights and the incandescent lights that we have in our homes are about 27 or 3,000 degrees Kelvin. It's how yellow the light appears. And the higher the degrees Kelvin, the whiter the light gets. So this one at 6,000 degrees Kelvin is very, very white, almost blue-white. Bulb has excellent color rendering, but it's just very, very whitish blue. Some people refer to these as full spectrum, but that's actually a myth. There's really no such thing as full spectrum. All of these light bulbs have all the colors of the spectrum, just different amounts. And this one just has a little bit more blue in it. So, as you can see, there's several different styles, models, and wattages of compact fluorescent lights that are available at drug, hardware, and home improvement stores near you. If you have any more questions about these lights or energy conservation in general, you can call Seattle City Lights Conservation Helpline at 206-684-3800. That's 206-684-3800.
Or you can visit our website at www.cityofseattle.net/light/conserve.
Thanks for joining us today.
And we hope you learned something about energy conservation.
Seattle City Light is an electric utility, so why do we encourage people to conserve, to use electricity more efficiently? Because wise energy use saves money, creates jobs, and protects the environment. City Light is Seattle's citizen-owned utility. Our customers are our shareholders, and they expect City Light to do the smart thing, the right thing, and that's conservation. Seattle City Light Conservation. Value for our customers, good for the community.
Summer in Seattle, when the clouds take a vacation, the sun shines, and community festivals blossom like annuals throughout our city. We enjoy our festivals because it's time to have fun, meet our neighbors, enjoy good food, and even learn a thing or two that may help us make it through the upcoming long, wet winter. Hi, my name is Yan Chen. I work for Seattle City Light, and it's Thursday, the day before the opening of the Central Area Community Festival. As you can see behind us, there's lots of work that goes into making a successful festival. The folks behind us are constructing the Echo Village. The Echo Village is the product of a collaboration between Seattle City Light and Seattle Public Utilities. And we're hoping to give people a hands-on experience of how they can easily save lots of resources in and around their homes. So let's have a look. Are you coming? Come on. Let's start in the bathroom. Your bathroom sink is a great place to start because changes are so easy. Take out your old aerator and install a water saver low flow aerator. And most of the time you don't even need special tools. The shower is another place where you can rack up big savings. This is a low-flow shower head. It can use as much as half the flow of a normal shower head. And finally, we've got the toilet. This is a 1.6-gallon toilet. If you have an older toilet, you can use about 5 to 7 gallons. And you know how many times you flush a toilet every day. That's a lot of water and money down the drain. Let's have a look at the laundry room. This is a resource-efficient clothes washer. Some people know them as front loaders because of where the door is. One of these units will use 60% less energy and 40% less water than a conventional top-loading machine. That's because it doesn't have to put as much water into the drum. Top loaders, you have to fill all the way up to the top. You've got a little bit of water down at the bottom. The drum turns and picks the clothes up, drops them down. That's the mechanical part of the cleaning. It's very gentle and it does a great job of cleaning your clothes. Right now, you can get a $100 combined rebate from Seattle Public Utilities and Seattle City Light if you buy one of these for your home. And here's the water heater in the laundry room. A lot of people have their water heaters in places where they're out of the way, but keep in mind that all of the hot water conservation that you're doing in your house, you can trace right back to this machine. So since 40% of your light bill can be from your water heater, it's very important that it be efficient, and we recommend that you set the temperature at 120 degrees where it's nice and safe. This is a lamp that you'd likely see in your living room. It's a Torchiere lamp, but unlike most of the ones that are out there now, this one has a fluorescent bulb. Not the halogen type that generate a tremendous amount of heat. You could fry an egg on one of those. In fact, we have in some of our demonstrations. And this is a nice fluorescent. It produces a great white light, and it's very safe too. Let's go outside the home now. Lots of houses in Seattle have lawns and gardens, so we've included a section for salmon-friendly practices in those areas at the Eco Village. Okay, we're going to talk with Diana Herbst. Diana works with the Master Composter Program and Seattle Tilth. Hi, Diana. What are you doing here? What is this?
I'm moistening the bedding for a worm bin. I've just finished taking out the old bedding and I'm putting in new bedding. Once I get nice and moist, I'll put my worms in there, and then I will have a place that I can bring my food scraps and transform them into worm castings with the help of the worms, and then bring it out into my garden and use it as a soil amendment.
Oh, great. So I don't have to throw away my vegetables now.
No, you can actually use the broccoli scraps to grow more broccoli, or better yet, a vegetable you like.
Terrific. And what is this? Is this Darth Vader's hat?
Not exactly Darth Vader's hat. This is a yard waste composting system called the Earth Machine that Seattle Public Utilities subsidizes. There are classes throughout the spring, summer, and fall where you can attend one, figure out what you're supposed to do, and take one home with you if you're a Seattle resident. You put your materials in on the top, and there's a door at the bottom where you slide it up and dig out the good stuff, which again you can use as a soil amendment in your garden. And compost will both help the soil fertility, maintaining moisture in the soil, which will help the salmon in the long run. And it also cuts down on your bills.
Great. So I can just scrape my dinner plate into this, right?
Only if you want to set up a bed and breakfast for rats.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
No, if you want to scrape your dinner plate, the worm bin or the homemade digester would be it. The yard waste is for yard waste.
Okay, so this is a home digester?
That is
looks like a garbage can to me.
Only to the uninitiated eye. This is actually a homemade food waste composter. You start with a garbage can, then you take a drill, and you take a drill bit, and make sure it's 1/4 inch or smaller, and you drill about 20 holes on the bottom and sides. And find a place in your yard that you can dig a hole, bury it all the way down past the holes, put the soil back around the sides, and then you can start feeding it your food scraps.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. What else do we have to look at here, Diana?
Oh, we've got appropriate planting techniques. We've got plants that are both natives and drought-tolerant plants. You know, why spend a lot on your water bill if you can grow sage instead? Heathers, all sorts of wonderful plants that grow really well in our yard. And also we have a mulching lawnmower.
Oh, yes. Can we have a look at that?
Absolutely.
I recognize this.
Yes, this may look like an ordinary lawnmower, but in the hands of a professional, it becomes a mulching lawnmower.
Okay.
Basically, mulching lawn mowing is cutting the grass and cutting 1/3 of it, letting that 1/3 of the grass lie on the grass so you don't rake it up.
Oh, I like that.
I thought you would. And you let the nitrogen from the grass break down and fertilize the grass that is still growing. It cuts down on both, obviously, haulage bills and fertilizer, and it increases the health of your soil so you don't have to worry about getting something like weed and feed, which would then run off and poison our salmon.
Right, we have to be concerned with the salmon. And this sounds like something that would appeal to a lazy person like me.
I prefer to think of it as efficient use of energy.
Thank you. We've had a chance to look at just a few things you can do in and around your home to to save resources. If you'd like more information, visit our website at www.cityofseattle.net/light or call the Conservation Helpline at 684-3800. I'm Yen Chin with Seattle City Light. Thanks for being with us.
Seattle City Light hired fisheries biologists like me because they take very seriously their need to respond to environmental stewardship. The Skagit River supports the largest overwintering population of bald eagles in the continental United States. That's one big success story with the Skagit Hydro Project, in that we have really large returns of salmon coming back to the Skagit River year after year. Seattle City Light is very proud of that. The citizens of Seattle should be also.
With water already low this year, salmon need all the help they can get. Now, using less electricity means saving more water and saving on our energy bills as well. Now, some people are doing that already. Are you doing anything to save electricity right now?
I make sure every light in my house is off.
I try to turn off the lights.
I always shut off the lights.
Are you doing anything to save electricity right now?
Nope.
Not consciously.
Yeah, we're not going inside. We stay outside now.
We don't do small loads of laundry. We only do big loads of laundry. I don't use as much lights as I used to. I'm a gardener and I don't use chemicals. I use those spiral light bulbs. Take short showers. One TV, turn it off.
We're using electricity efficient light bulbs and shower heads.
We are on a well, so we use a pump and we don't flush the toilet all the time.
We just use a little as we can.
Just try not to be wasteful.
Okay, now let's get some tips from a professional. Ann Ducey from Seattle City Light gave us some great lessons in being energy efficient at home. So Ann, tell us about the door and the door jamb.
Well, do you get a lot of drafts through this door?
Yes.
I bet you do. We need a little weather stripping here. You see, there's no weather stripping between the actual door and the jamb.
So air just comes flying in.
Well, maybe not flying in, but it just seeps in continuously, 24/7. And your threshold, too. There's something on the bottom of the door you want. And you can go into any home improvement store and they have lots of different selections.
Okay.
And then also, this can be a real air...
The mail slot.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of heat loss through this little flap right here because there's no weather stripping in there. There's just a nice little gap here.
Yeah.
So you want to get something that closes off
Then
really nice and tight.
Right around there. Okay.
Right, or you can get a whole new apparatus.
Great.
Well, why don't we go check out the thermostat?
Let's do it.
Great. You could save a lot of money if you set it down to maybe 60 or even 55 when you're not here during the day. The heat is the biggest energy user in the home, and for every 1 degree setback in a 12-hour period, you can save 3% off your bill.
Oh, okay.
So it's really the most cost-effective thing you can do, and it's cheap.
Let's talk windows here.
Well, it looks like you've got a single pane window here.
Yes.
These do tend to be very cold for a couple of reasons. One is that it's a very thin pane of glass, and so it's a thin part of the whole shell of your home, and so there's a lot of heat transfer through there. But also what happens, usually warm air rush.
Get two very different ones again. One, I think, is your very favorite book of all time.
The Evolution Man, or How I Ate My Father by Roy Lewis, I have to say, is one of my all-time favorite books. It was originally published in 1960 in England, never brought out in the United States, reissued in England in the late 80s, early 90s, became an unexpected bestseller, and Pantheon, which is an arm of Random House, brought it out here. This is the story of an upwardly mobile Pleistocene-era cave family. Father, who is the main character, Father is bound and determined when he dies, he wants to see his family in the upper Pleistocene. But he says, looking at his 3 sons, one of whom tells this story, he doesn't even think they'll make it to the middle Pleistocene. Now, I don't know if you know this, Sharon, but the Pleistocene was a time when man's life and woman's life was divided roughly into 3 parts. A third of your life was spent sleeping. A third of your life was spent hunting for food, and the remaining third of your life was spent chewing, because food was raw. So when Father figures out the good use that fire can be put to, and I don't want to give away how he discovers it, but it does involve an unfortunate accident to one of his sisters-in-law. When Father discovers that fire can be used to cook food, and cooked food you can chew much faster. That frees up a lot of time. So it was Father's family who did the first representational cave art that we find. It was Father's family who tamed the first wild animals, dogs. The domestication of dogs was because there was time now to do this. This is one of the loveliest, funniest novels. I think this is a novel that if you just read the first chapter out loud, you can't stop reading it.
Now, how does the author set the scene? If it's in the prehistoric times, does he do a good job of putting you in that era?
He's wonderful at setting the scene because you know when he's doing it that he has his tongue in cheek. One of the things that happens in here is that one of Father's brothers-in-law comes back, Uncle Ian, comes back from China. He's been to China, and he says to Father, "You had better get started on all of your inventions because the Chinese are beating you to it."
Nancy, why was this novel, if it is so popular and funny, gone undiscovered for so long?
I don't know. I don't know if it's people thought here that the humor was too British. I'm not sure if they couldn't think of a good niche for it. Who would buy this book? There aren't a lot of books that you can see whole families sitting around listening to it being read out loud. So I think marketing probably had something to do with it. But this is a book that I can see at some holiday when you're sort of finished eating dinner and everyone's kind of bored and you don't want to watch television. Just have everybody curl up together and take turns reading The Evolution Man out loud.
Great. Thanks, Nancy. So going from a very funny novel to something a bit more thrilling and a moral thriller as well?
I think we could call this a moral thriller. This is a first novel also by a man named Joe Cannon who worked in the publishing industry. He visited Los Alamos in New Mexico and just became fascinated with both the landscape of New Mexico, and particularly Los Alamos where the Manhattan Project took place, but also became really enamored of the history of the making of the atomic bomb. So this is a thriller that is set in the spring of 1945, and it concerns a murder that takes place. One of the security guards at Los Alamos is murdered. The Albuquerque, the New Mexico police think that it's just a random murder, but Robert Oppenheimer, who is one of the characters in Cannon's book, really worries that that murder has some security implications. So he brings in an army investigator to try to find the murderer.
Now, how does it work, though, weaving a thriller or a murder mystery within the background of such an incredible time at Los Alamos?
I think what that does is give the novel a center, and that's what gives the novel its moral dimension. Because when we look at World War II, and when we look at Truman's decision to use the atomic bomb on Japan, we look at it with all of our prejudices. We know what happened. We know the huge number of people that were killed. The people who were working on the bomb, that were in the Manhattan Project, didn't have that 50-year down the road perspective. To them, this was something that had to be done, and for many of them, it would be the best work that they would ever do. And what just stunned me when I talked to the author of this book is when he said, you know, the average age of the scientists working on the bomb was 27 years old. Robert Oppenheimer himself was just 33.
Wow, that's wonderful. Are there many thrillers that are set like this, that an author will pick a particular historic time to set his thriller in?
Yes, there are. Not all of them do it as well as Joe Cannon did. And I think what your question leads me to think of is the problem that thriller writers are having since the end of the Cold War. The Cold War was always the central focus of thriller writers from like John le Carre, Graham Greene, even Tom Clancy. What's happened now is that they've all been scrambling around to find something else to write about. And what they're doing is either going back to the past, as Joe Cannon did, or veering off in a totally different direction. John le Carré's novels since the end of the Cold War have dealt with the drug wars or the situation in a disintegrating Soviet Union.
Great. Sounds like a wonderful book. Thanks so much, Nancy, for joining us. 2 good novels again for your reading pleasure this month. We've been talking with Nancy Pearl, Director of the Center of the Book here at the Seattle Public Library. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, Sharon.
And learned a little bit more about all that's waiting for you here at the Seattle Public Library. I'm Sharon Griggins. Thanks for watching. The Seattle Public Library is here for everyone to use. That means even those with limited reading skills, or people who've recently arrived from another country. Hi, I'm Sharon Griggins, and this month on Cover to Cover, we'll be talking with the people who provide and use literacy and English as a second language programs here at the library. We'll also be talking about a very popular program, Raise a Reader. We'll be touring the newly organized Travel Information section and visiting the Beacon Hill branch. So stay with us on this month's edition of Cover to Cover. Suppose you didn't know how to read.
We have people who come to our various desks and they whisper, say, you know, I can't read. Can you help me out?
Or we're just learning English.
Every week I pick up some new word, but
what would a visit to the library be like?
I get up and start walking them to the ESL area to show them where the resources are. And then in the process, finding out what their name is, you know, where they're from, to establish a rapport. And that usually helps to make a person feel more comfortable, like they're a person and you care about them.
That's what new library patrons can expect when they meet the staff of the Literacy and English as a Second Language programs at the Seattle Public Library.
同埋裏邊咧，你可以咧學啲字，又學嗰啲 grammar，語法，係啊。
The library offers a wide variety of materials and services designed to help people who are not yet fluent in English or those with low-level reading skills. And the staff works hard to reach out to these special populations.
文嘅呢個係 American English one.
So the outreach is real important. We bring in close to 2,000 people each year that wouldn't normally get to the library or know about the library.
To reach parents with young children, there's Start Smart, a program that the library offers in conjunction with the Literacy Action Center in Greenwood. Here, the emphasis is on family literacy.
The goal of Start Smart is really to incorporate the whole idea of literacy and family literacy, reading books, reading with your children, into a setting in which we bring parents and children together to read books, to spend some time in a library, to talk about some issues that are important to them in terms of their parenting, and to introduce children's books and parenting books to the parents that are participants.
Each week, parents gather at the Greenwood Library with their children to enjoy books, discuss parenting, and learn from each other.
We want to get them interested in books and the importance of reading. To go to the library, to get a library card, and to know the library is a friendly place and a fun place, and it's very important to read to kids.
While the children are busy with activities upstairs in the library, parents can talk about how to access library materials for their family and the everyday challenges of raising children.
You can read books and you can, get an answer for something, but if you've actually talked to another parent who may experience what you experience, you get a more hands-on, direct answer. And I like the fact that I can come and I can share if I'm having a bad week, if I've had problems with, Madison or with David not sleeping, and I can